The Earth is my home, and yours. There are countless iterations of Mother Nature throughout countless cultures and in every corner of the world. Look at Gaia, the Greek deity, or Ki of Sumer. These cultures were based in community. Thousands of years ago, groups of people lived in villages and even city-states, sharing food, water, homes, working together as a single body, careful that everyone had what they needed, treating the Earth as a provider. Throughout history, we have personified this planet as a nurturing figure and an all-powerful one. So why is Mother Earth dying? As a young child, I rolled down green hills and skinned my knee on rough grass at the bottom. I went to the ocean at night and trailed my fingers through the phosphorescence. I got my feet soaking wet walking through dew-laden flowers. When did we become so alienated from this source of life? I am reminded of the articles written under Ruth Reichl during her time as the editor-in-chief of Gourmet magazine. These articles, written by authors like Anne Patchett and David Foster Wallace, took the reader to China, to Paris, to the Amazon River, examining the techniques and origins of how we eat. Much of food culture worldwide is based in faith and relationship to the land. East Asian dumplings originated as a Taoist tradition meant to bring one closer to nature. Baklava, by some accounts, first appeared as a cultural tradition in Assyria. I think of how I eat today. For breakfast this morning, I had granola with milk. I don't know what farm the milk came from. I don't know where the oats were planted. I ate it because I was hungry and didn't have enough time before I had to start my day. I've spent many summers on a working farm in Vermont. Once a summer, we have a meal of almost entirely food grown and produced on the farm. Salad, bread, even chicken. For the few ingredients that we cannot source from our farm or locally, we buy them with intention. There's a map on the wall with thumbtacks in the areas where our food comes from and note cards saying where it was grown, processed, and how it was shipped. On those nights, I feel more connected to the land and to my sustenance than ever. I can close my eyes and know that I am of the earth, sustained by the earth, and vital to the earth. I find, though, that I otherwise don't think as much about my consumption, and I realize that we are alienated from the earth. When we eat sugar, we don't consider the likely underpaid migrant workers who grew it. We don't consider the pesticides used. We don't consider the petroleum used to process, ship, and deliver it to our stores. Mother Earth has become a distant relative. I believe that in order to save our planet, we need to reconnect with her, remember where we came from, and that we all have roots within the earth. We must be aware of our effects, and we must adapt and view the human race as a community, working together to live sustainably and survive. But it is extremely difficult to harbor any hope for this. The fact is, even when I can hope for a future, I have a very vague picture. Will everyone be composting? Will we live in tiny solar-powered homes? Will we all be vegan? Even a future where we have a future is almost impossible to picture. Though we have predictions and speculations, there is no clear view. We need to learn how to create a world where we can see that future, but part of the problem with that is that we don't know how to have that discussion. There's so much involved, so much to consider, and so much at stake. Our discussion needs to include the indigenous, the poor, the young, and while the problems we face as climate change impacts our life are clear, the solutions need to be as well. What do we do now, and what will we need to do in the future? We need those responsible for this crisis to take responsibility. There is an extremely upsetting trend of countries and corporations taking action to prevent climate change by placing the duties on others without managing their own messes. The Norwegian government has offered environmental activist Greta Thunberg multiple awards for her work, which she refused in protest of the significant oil and gas exported from Norway. She refuses to become complicit and holds them responsible instead of taking part in their system. Although Norway has extremely progressive environmental social policies, their economic reliance on oil and gas is staggering. BP, which operates in Norway, is the oil company responsible for the disastrous oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico that took place in 2010, and they recently tweeted a plea to stop the use of plastic straws. And while I agree that plastic use should be very limited, I can't help but think, you're telling me? Our grandparents and parents' generations are the ones who embraced fleeces of fabric that symbolized outdoor life and minivans as symbols of off-road freedom, when in fact minivans used an enormous amount of gas, and fleeces made of two petrochemicals, which are minuscule fibers that can make their way into our oceans and air. When we prioritize corporate success and aesthetic choices over the environment, we betray the earth. We must remember all that she has given us and give back. I personally am Jewish. My religion does not have an Earth Mother figure. The same is true for more than half of the world. But we all have a deep intrinsic connection with the Earth. This connection is why young people are rising up. While my generation may not be able to visualize our future now, we are solution-oriented, smart, and active. I open my phone to Instagram, where I see Greta Thunberg in a windbreaker on a boat. She is 17 years old, my age, and has not been to school in over a year. She sailed across the Atlantic so she could participate in the climate strike without creating a carbon footprint. I scroll down and see the Sunrise Movement, teen-led and operated, rating politicians on a scale of how good their plans for our climate are. I click into Instagram stories and see my friends from all backgrounds and experiences sharing pictures and videos. Save the oceans, demand a Green New Deal, protect Indigenous land. A peer of mine organizes a business that brings compost kits to families across town. Others are going out into the community to clean garbage. They're challenging adults who waste resources, and they're spreading awareness and know-how about how to alter problematic mindsets and behaviors. Activists like TEDxRyeNeckHigh demand a Green New Deal. My classmates and I buy reusable water bottles and canvas totes to reduce plastic waste. We ride bikes, we recycle, and we reduce our use of single-use products. We are conscious of our own waste, and we protest against those who are not taking action to reduce theirs. We see the value in the connection that we have, and we reawaken the things that tie us together. We take responsibility for ourselves and for our future. However, personal behavioral changes and protests won't make a difference unless everyone embraces the urgency felt by young people. Reductions in our carbon footprints will only be meaningful in the fight to reduce greenhouse gases if the passions that teens hold for meeting the challenges of climate change are shared by everyone. We cannot afford to let climate change wait. We must act now. We know the future is coming. To me, being a teen right now means knowing that to live in a city in 10 years might mean everyone using an inhaler to protect from environmentally triggered asthma. Being a teen right now means that I'm already thinking about how, in the future, I want to buy land with fresh water on it so I have a safe place for myself and my family. Being a teen right now means considering the ethical ramifications of having children, something most people don't have to think about until they are much older. Being a teen right now means I know that I might not have a future, and it means refusing to accept this. Do not forget what it means to be 16 with your whole life ahead of you. Do not forget that for me and for my peers, there's no way of knowing the full extent of the impacts of climate change and what that world will look like. The immensity of the problems my generation faces could paralyze us into inaction and apathy. But I, for one, will not let that stop me. I refuse to allow myself to sink into a state of paralysis because I'm overwhelmed. I pledge to myself, to those around me, for the sake of our futures, to act, to protest, to support, and to sustain. Let's repair our relationship with Mother Earth. Let's make her home again.